What up guys, and welcome to another Cardano DeFi token breakdown video where I go over some of the top projects on the Cardano blockchain in 10 minutes or less. And in this video, we're going over none other than Iagon, otherwise known as IAG, which has been absolutely blowing up recently. So without further ado guys, let's get into it. Iagon, otherwise known as IAG, has been absolutely blowing up over this past month and is now sitting at a 10x gain, the 7th largest Cardano token, and a 90 million ADA market cap, or around 25 million USD. And we're about to go over whether or not I think this has some long-term potential here, or if it's just a hype play that has gone on a run from hell. So what exactly is Iagon and what are they trying to do? Well guys, Iagon are trying to revolutionize the cloud storage and computing market by creating a decentralized and transparent marketplace where anyone in Web3 can basically sell their storage and earn an income as a result. So how exactly does this work, guys? Well, all around the world, there are tons of different businesses and individuals that have a need for cloud storage and cloud computing. And essentially, there are 4 major companies right now, including Amazon, Google, IBM, and Microsoft, that have pretty much dominated this industry. And now what's happening is Iagon, through the blockchain, are creating this decentralized and transparent way for anyone to become a resource provider and provide these storage resources. And essentially what happens is there's a reward mechanism where you can earn their IAG token for providing these different cloud solutions, and essentially they're able to sustain that through different companies and individuals paying for these different cloud services. And you can either yourself create your own node, which supposedly is going to be super easy to do, and basically provide these different resources yourself, especially if you have a data center and all of this super expensive equipment. Or you can simply join another node and be part of the network that way. And all of these different nodes and networks are actually represented through an NFT, so you can actually own a share of the network, which is pretty cool as well. Another important thing to note here, guys, is that they are incentivizing these different nodes by giving them these IAG rewards for providing these services. But this is only for the best service providers that are selling storage to consumers. So in other words, suboptimal storage providers are accountable for the poor quality of their service and might not be able to monetize this shared storage economy. And that's where this whole entire shared node idea comes from, where even if yourself, you don't have a super strong computer or a ton of storage to be able to provide, at least you can join another node and be part of that shared node and all of those shared rewards. Now that you guys know how this works, why does Iagon think that this is a solution that actually has some practicality and can actually compete with some of the bigger players already in the game? Well, they broke this down into 6 different phases, with their first phase being security. They're saying that a lot of times the way things are set up now is that when some sort of data lake is hacked, an intruder can kind of swim around the database system and inspect all of these different files and gain access to valuable data concerning operations of the organization under attack. And this is more so happening because it is more centralized with these different databases with various companies. But what Iagon is saying is they're having this thing called the secure lake, which is more so based on the decentralization, encryption, random clipping mask, error correcting codes, compression, and sharding, which will allow them to freeze this lake and prohibit potential threat actors from navigating within the data lake after accessing it. So they're saying it's a more secure way of doing things. They're also saying that it is a lot more private as well as compliant with some of the different companies out there. So not only is it compliant with different region-specific data, but instead of Google tracking its users online by collecting all the data using cookies, instead they're going cookieless, and they're really making sure that your data is prioritized as far as a consumer and as someone that is a supplier. They're also saying that they're solving the centralization issue, which is what I was saying earlier, where you have a handful of companies really controlling the whole entire show. And instead of Amazon going out and everything going down, now all of a sudden, because it's more decentralized, you have a lot less of a likelihood of everything just collapsing on each other. They're also saying that there is no monetization of data without consent or reward, and that's actually been a big thing with Google and Facebook, basically selling our data, especially in the US, without our permission. And this is once again how they're not using cookies, and they're allowing you as a user to determine how your data is used and whether or not it can be sold. They're also saying that the cost of storage capacity has been dramatically increasing over the years, and it's been making Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and IBM a ton of money. But because it's super hard to be able to compete with them and have the economies of scale to buy all of the equipment, it's really hard to have competitive pricing in this industry. But now all of a sudden, when anyone can provide in this marketplace, including myself or you or whatever, now all of a sudden all those small pieces end up being a much bigger pie, which allows them to actually compete and actually have lower cost. And then the last thing is that they're saying environmental impact is also on a positive with being on Cardano, because they can use Ouroboros, which I'm sure I'm butchering, which solves the greatest challenge faced by existing blockchains, the need for more and more energy to achieve consensus. But because they're on Cardano, not only can they do this securely and sustainably, but they can also use this ethically at scale. And one interesting fact to point out is that they actually had started on Ethereum, but decided to move to Cardano, and this was one of the reasons they decided to do that. Another thing to note before we get into the roadmap is Iagon has actually been around since 2017, with their original ICO happening in 2018 on Ethereum, as I was saying earlier. And during this time, they've made sure that they've been data compliant with all of these different countries and regions throughout the world, as well as have filed and gotten several patents when it comes to the technology. And they're also using machine learning and a couple other AI technologies, from my understanding, to basically optimize all of these different processes on top of it. As far as the roadmap goes, what exactly is happening next for Iagon? Well, the big thing is, guys, is they are having their decentralized storage mainnet launching sometime in this quarter. And this is one of the main reasons that Iagon has actually gone on a massive run recently. Their private testnet is already out, and we're expecting that sometime within the next 1 to 2 months here, that mainnet to be available. They're also going to have invoicing for their different dApps, which is a new feature release. They have the API for anyone that's trying to be a resource provider, a whole entire ambassador program, an NFT airdrop for holders and stakers, their single asset staking, which is where you're actually able to get a share of the protocol revenue if you're staking your IAG, and then the subscription manager, which is everyone that's subscribed to these different services that these resource providers are providing. And then they're saying they're going to have their audit in the year of 2024, and there's some other stuff, but really, guys, I don't like looking too far in the future when it comes to roadmaps, because things get easily pushed back. The big thing that you guys have to note, though, is that their actual mainnet for all of this decentralized storage is supposed to be sometime within the next couple months. When it comes to the tokenomics of the project, there's a total fixed supply of 1 billion, and they did a fundraise when it came to the seed rounds for $3.6 million. Now, the rest of the tokens are going to be mainly dispensed through 6 different areas, which is the Ecosystem Development Fund, which you can see here with the shared storage economy. I believe this is simply incentivizing and developing this out. They also have the community incentives, development, marketing and advisors, team, and then the liquidity for that ERC20 swap as well. And you can kind of see here, guys, all of the different tokens that already are in circulation, about 31.5% in total, and all of the different tokens that were in the seed round as well as the IDO round are already in 100% circulation. Now, one thing you guys do have to note here is that the actual tokenomics of the inflation has not been set yet. They are planning to update this when the product is actually launched in Q3 2023, so we have no idea how long it's going to take for all of these different rewards and incentives and inflation to play out, and because of that, it's a little bit harder to determine your strategy of investing in this project as of now. When it comes to the actual utility of this token, which is the big thing that you should be asking yourself, because sometimes a great platform doesn't necessarily mean the token is going to do well, and really, guys, with this IAG token, it's broken down into 4 different sections. The first thing you can do with your IAG is stake it and earn additional rewards. The major one is that you're able to earn a portion of all transaction fees that happen on this platform, meaning that the more people that use this platform, the more business, the more revenue that you're going to generate as a holder. So it's a very good profit sharing token. They also are going to incentivize storage providers. So if you're someone that's providing storage and you're doing it at an acceptable level, you're going to actually be able to earn this token. And it's also going to incentivize people to actually provide provide this service, and then they're also going to fund the future development of the system. And that's always an important thing, guys, because the better that they can make this system, the less competition that comes in, and honestly, the more revenue they're going to make, which is then going to feed back into the portion of transaction fees. So I always love tokens that do this sort of revenue sharing model. It means that you can actually benefit from the success of the platform rather than just being a governance type token. Now that you guys have all of the info on the token, what is my personal thoughts and opinions as well as strategy when it comes to this token? And do I think it's something that's just overhyped right now or something with genuine potential? And it's a little bit of a mix of both, guys. When I first recorded this video, and you might have been able to tell this was kind of split into 2 different days, the IAG token was actually sitting at 0.28 ADA. And one of the reasons it has been going on such a run is because of this mainnet launch. People are finally going to be able to participate in this whole entire ecosystem. And I think there's always just so much hype and so much FOMO and so much price appreciation right before any major catalyst event like this. So yes, there was a lot of hype that went into it. It went all the way to 0.28. And now after a pullback into the general Cardano DeFi market, we're now sitting at around 0.21 when I launched this actual video back on YouTube. So yes, there is still a lot of hype caked in. I think there's a chance that this could continue to appreciate as long as all of Cardano DeFi doesn't continue to go down here right before the actual launch of that mainnet. Now, what's really interesting, guys, is that we don't know what the tokenomics is going to be for this project. So it's really hard to have a game plan or a strategy when we don't know how quick that inflation is actually going to happen. And that's going to change how I personally do things. I think for the most part, though, guys, a lot of the #1 golden rule is to kind of sell on the news. So if I was to kind of play this token right now, I would simply sell on the news, and especially since we don't know what the tokenomics are. Now, as far as a protocol, as far as a project, I really love this protocol. I like how it's solving a real world issue. I love how their token has some revenue factoring or revenue sharing built into that. And usually those tokens end up performing very well. And as far as compared to a lot of other projects out there, especially on Cardano, this team and this overall project and this idea is really up there on my list. Now, they are going to really struggle, in my opinion, of being able to get some mainstream adoption from some of the major players out there, such as, Netflix, for example, that really prioritizes trust and security and longevity and track record over getting a better deal potentially on Iagon. And they might continue to use AWS or Google or some of those major players out there. So it's one of those things, as far as a long-term investment, this is going to be one of those protocols that are going to have a very hard challenge to come, where it comes to like really onboarding a lot of people to provide storage as well as compete with these major players. But if they're able to successfully do that, then this token can end up being extremely profitable in the long run, especially once we get more information about the tokenomics, and especially since you can get those revenue share capabilities. Now, on the flip side, if no one uses this platform, then you're not really going to get that revenue. And I think in the beginning, it's going to take a while for people to actually know about this and actually use it. It seems like there's a decent amount of people that are interested in providing storage and potentially getting these different, revenue streams in the token, but I don't know how many people are actually looking to use IAG as an actual source to get these storage capabilities on their actual site or on their actual platform. So to kind of summarize everything I said there, I think there are some tough challenges ahead for Iagon in order to get mainstream adoption and get people to actually use this platform. But if they are able to successfully do that, then this could potentially be a very great long-term play, simply because you get that revenue share and there aren't going to be more tokens after all these different tokens release. But once again, guys, we're going to have to see how that inflation schedule is going to play out. So yeah, overall, I like the token. I like what they're trying to do. I think there's some potential here as far as the protocol goes, but I think in the beginning, people are going to be kind of disappointed with how much revenue is being generated on this platform, simply because that is going to take some time to do. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I went a little bit over what I normally do for different projects when it comes to these different reviews, but there was a lot to cover with this project simply because they're doing a lot of stuff out there. And if you enjoyed this video, please give this a thumbs up and subscribe. I'm going to be covering a lot more Cardano DeFi, as I've stated a few times now, and it's going to be about a lot of different projects that are coming into the ecosystem. So yeah, that wraps it up, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.